Are you spending most of your time in bed, lying down and not doing much like you used to? Do you get tired easily and feel like doing nothing? Burnout is a result of excessive and prolonged emotional, physical, and mental stress. This happens when you're overwhelmed, emotionally drained, unable to meet life's demands and inability to cope with it. In this video, we'll discuss the 7 signs you're burnt out. Number 1. You're procrastinating. When you're burned out, you tend to put off intentionally the doing of something that should be done, as if you're withdrawing from responsibilities. Procrastination is an action of voluntarily delaying or postponing something despite knowing that there will be negative consequences for doing so. You may feel like a certain task was overwhelming and provokes stress. That's why you're procrastinating. Number 2. Detachment. Do you recently doing something without thinking about it or without making an effort? Do you feel detached and disconnected from your own self? There is a condition called depersonalization wherein a person experiencing this have a feeling of being outside of its own self and observing its actions, feelings or thoughts from a distance. Depersonalization disorder is usually triggered by severe stress, those struggling with trauma, strange emotional behaviors that they don't feel like themselves anymore and aren't engaged by anything. They tend to isolate themselves, making them feel really alone and helpless. Number 3. You're exhausted. Do you always feel tired even if you haven't done much yet for the day? Are you dragging yourself out of bed to get to work in the morning? Does your 8-hour shift feels like 24 or something? You may be exhausted both emotionally and physically. Burnout is a kind of work-related stress that makes you feel exhausted. People experiencing this have difficulty concentrating, feeling drained, irritable, and often feel emotionally out of control. Number 4. Neglecting your self-care. When you stop making an effort to look good and socially withdrawn from others, you may be emotionally and physically burnt out. There are concerning changes in your appetite and sleeping habits, especially when it never used to be a problem for you. You tend to spend your time doing nothing because you get easily exhausted. Number 5. Unmotivated. Do you used to be a goal-driven, active and passionate person but struggling to find an interest, enjoyment and became unmotivated nowadays? Then, it's more likely that you're suffering from burnout. Burnout can make it hard for you to appreciate the things you once loved. You may even hate it because of the efforts you exerted and find nothing. Number 6. You're feeling useless. Another sign of burnout is you have this feeling that you just can't be effective and is useless. This leads to a lack of accomplishment and productivity as you already feel incompetent. Number 7. Forgetting your priorities. With burnout, you'll basically drop all of your habits that were essential for your well-being, like exercising. Even a mere walks could be so tedious for you. Instead of doing something relevant, you just feel compelled to look at a screen for hours and hours and basically no longer cared about organizing the space around you. Burnout develops in stages. The major 5 stages of burnout are the honeymoon phase, the onset of stress, chronic stress, burnout and habitual burnout. Many people begin to experience symptoms as early as the 2nd phase, when there is still a moderate amount of stress, but the interest and performance into something may start declining, making you less productive. The initial stages may not feel like much, but they can eventually lead to a habitual phase that makes it hard to carry out your duties. If left untreated, it'll eventually make you vulnerable and developing anxiety or depression. Give time and space for yourself to realize what was going on to get to the bottom of the problem. Try to reevaluate your priorities. Avoid prioritizing too much in too many things at the same time. Slowly reincorporate your habits that were foundational in your life one at a time. And of course, don't hesitate to reach out to a mental health care professional when needed.